I want to take you all to the Stade de la Beaujoire. So this is in Nantes. It's June 4th, 2026.
Oh, the atmosphere for that one was it was electric.
Unbelievable, right? The atmosphere is absolutely crackling. You've got France, the two-time world champions, literally the team sitting at the apex of the FIFA rankings.
Yeah, the #1 team in the world.
Right. And they're playing this send-off friendly on home soil before the tournament. And, I mean, for the first half, it is going exactly according to the script.
Yeah, completely to script.
Like Didier Deschamps has his squad humming. You've got Ray in Cherky. He drops his shoulder, weaves through, what, two defenders?
Two defenders, yeah, and then that strike.
Yeah. He curls this beautiful left-footed strike right before halftime. And then you've got Kylian Mbappe constantly threatening the channels, hunting down Olivier Giroud's all-time goal-scoring record.
Always hunting.
Always. And the crowd is singing. It just looks like this routine, comfortable warm-up win for Les Bleus before they cross the Atlantic.
Well, yeah, because it had all the hallmarks of a classic European giant flex,
Oh, boy.
France was just dominating possession, dictating the tempo, pinning the opposition back. I mean, you could see the French players playing with that relaxed arrogance.
Yeah, like they were barely out of second gear.
Exactly. Treating the match as a tactical run-through just to finalize their starting 11.
But then the script gets completely shredded.
Shredded to pieces.
The Ivory Coast,
Yeah.
the Elephants, they step out for the second half and basically decide, we aren't here to be training cones for the French.
Yeah, not at all.
In the 53rd minute, there's this massive tactical shift. Nicolas Pepe drifts inside, right?
Yeah.
He drags Daya Upamecano totally out of position.
Brilliant movement from him.
It really was. And he slides this perfectly weighted through ball to Guela Du, who just fires it past Mike Maignan. 1-1.
And you could hear a pin drop in that stadium.
The Nantes crowd gets very, very quiet. And then the 84th minute, the defining moment of the whole match.
This was incredible.
Du turns provider. He drives down the flank, cuts it back to Amad Diallo, who he converts this brilliant first-time effort right into the top corner. 2-1.
Beautiful finish.
The Ivory Coast secures an historic first-ever victory over France.
I mean, that second half was just a masterclass in aggressive transition. Yeah. France didn't just miss a few chances. They actively lost control of the midfield.
Wow.
Deschamps even admitted it in the post-match press conference. He said they were completely overrun by the Ivorian pace and clinical finishing once that initial press was bypassed.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we are looking at a result that sends absolute shockwaves through the international football landscape right on the eve of the biggest tournament in the world.
Huge implications.
Right. So our mission today for this deep dive is to put this specific Ivory Coast team under a microscope as they head into the 2026 World Cup in North America.
It's a fascinating team to look at.
It really is. And to do this, I've brought a massive stack of material to the table today. We are pulling from the CAFEC technical reports from the last African Cup of Nations, Opta's deep dive data on the African World Cup qualifiers.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And we've got scouting dossiers from the Bundesliga and Serie A on their newest call-ups, plus a series of just brilliant tactical breakdowns from L'Equipe regarding their recent friendlies.
Well, the L'Equipe analysis of that France match is particularly revealing, I think.
How so?
Because it highlights a team that has completely discarded its historical reliance on possession-based individual brilliance.
Right, the old way they used to play.
Exactly. They've traded that in favor of something far more pragmatic. I mean, this Ivory Coast team is returning to the World Cup for the first time in 12 years.
12 years. That's a long time.
It is. They missed out in Russia, missed out in Qatar, and they aren't just looking to make up the numbers this time.
They want to make a statement.
They want to break a curse. Despite fielding some of the most talented African players of all time over the last 2 decades, they have never advanced past the group stage.
Which is statistically absurd.
Yeah.
When you look back at the squads they've fielded in the past.
Oh, absolutely absurd.
So for you listening right now, whether you are actively mapping out your World Cup bracket or searching for a dark horse with genuine bite, or, you just appreciate a squad with a phenomenal narrative arc, you need to understand this team.
You really do.
But before we look at what they plan to do against Germany or Ecuador in Group E, we have to establish the causality of their current tactical shape.
Right, where it comes from.
Because to understand their defensive block against France, you have to understand the absolute trauma that forced them to build it 2 years ago.
Yeah, the current tactical identity of the Ivory Coast is a direct reaction to a national humiliation.
Strong words, but true.
It's the reality. You cannot separate their current structure from the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations, which, remember, was played on their home soil in early 2024.
Right. They are the host nation.
The whole country was watching.
The entire country of, 28 million people is draped in orange, white, and green. The expectations are astronomical.
Through the roof.
And in the group stage, they step onto the pitch in Abidjan and suffer a 4-0 defeat to Equatorial Guinea.
A nightmare.
I was reading the CF technical summary of that match, and it wasn't just a loss. It was a structural collapse.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Jean-Louis Gasset, their manager at the time, deployed this incredibly high, disjointed defensive line with aging center backs. And Equatorial Guinea just sliced them open in transition time and time again.
I mean, it was an autopsy on the pitch.
Wow. Yeah.
The spaces between the Ivorian midfield pivot and the center backs were enormous.
Just massive gaps everywhere.
Huge. Emilio Nassau had a field day exploiting those gaps, and the fallout from that 4-0 loss in front of their own fans was severe.
I can imagine.
They finished third in their group. They required a mathematical miracle from other groups just to sneak into the knockout stages as one of the best third-place teams.
And while they're sitting in the locker room, essentially waiting for other results to dictate their fate, the Ivorian Football Federation pulls the trigger on an unprecedented move.
Unbelievable move.
They sack Gasset mid-tournament. I mean, they fire the head coach of the host nation before they are even officially eliminated.
The historical precedent for mid-tournament sackings usually points directly to complete locker room fracture and impending doom.
Right. It's usually a death sentence.
It is an admission of complete systemic failure. But the Federation handed the interim role to Immerse Faye.
An assistant coach.
Right, an assistant who had a deep, intrinsic understanding of the Ivorian footballing psyche.
Okay, tell me more about him.
Well, Faye actually played for the national team. He was part of the squad at the 2006 World Cup, so he understood the immense, almost crushing weight of the jersey in a way a foreign manager simply couldn't.
That makes a lot of sense. The psychological reset he executed is studying material for sports psychologists, I swear.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because they do squeak through. And from there, Faye manages one of the most chaotic, adrenaline-fueled knockout runs in international football history.
It was pure cinema.
Literally. Look at the timeline. They face the defending champions, Senegal. They go down early, equalize in the 86th minute, and win on penalties.
Crazy resilience.
Then they face Mali in the quarterfinals. They go down to 10 men in the first half, concede in the 71st minute, equalize in the 90th, and then win it with an Umar Diakite back heel in the 122nd minute.
The Mali game was the crucible. That's where everything changed.
How so?
Faye realized that this team could not rely on intricate, possession-heavy football when the pressure was peaking. They just didn't have the composure for it in those moments.
That makes sense.
So he stripped the tactics back to raw resilience, defensive shape, and explosive counterattacks.
Just going back to basics.
Exactly. And by the time they reached the final against a very strong Nigeria side, a team that had actually beaten them in the group stage, remember, Faye had completely rewired their DNA.
It's wild to think about.
They went down 1-0 in the final to a Troost Ekong header, but the panic that characterized the Gasset era, it was totally gone.
They stayed calm.
Completely calm. They systematically broke Nigeria down. Franck Kessie and Sebastian Haller scored, and they won the tournament 2-1.
Winning the Africa Cup of Nations with an interim manager who took over halfway through the tournament, it's legendary. It's like firing the director halfway through a chaotic movie shoot, promoting the assistant, and ending up winning Best Picture.
That's the perfect analogy. It really is.
And obviously, Faye's immediately given the permanent job after that.
Of course, you have to.
Which brings us to the World Cup qualifiers. And this is where the Opta data gets really interesting for me.
Let's hear it.
In the CAF Group F qualifiers, under Faye's permanent tenure, they played 10 matches, 8 wins, 2 draws.
Undefeated.
Right, undefeated. But the standout metric, 0 goals conceded, 900 minutes of football without giving up a single goal.
It's a staggering number. I mean, the shift from the chaotic, high-line vulnerability against Equatorial Guinea to a 900-minute clean sheet streak is profound.
Totally different team.
Faye implemented a much more rigid 4-1-4-1 defensive block out of possession. He stopped asking his fullbacks, Wilfried Singo and Ghislain Konen, to simultaneously bomb forward and recover.
So he just told him to stay home more?
Exactly. He kept them tucked in, narrowing the half spaces, and he relied heavily on Evan Ndicka, who has just been an absolute revelation at center back.
Oh, and Ndicka has been fantastic.
Yeah, Ndicka's aerial duel win rate and his anticipation metrics for Roma translated perfectly into this international setup.
Okay, I have to push back a little bit on the invincibility of that stat, though.
Fair enough.
Look at the group they played in. Gabon, Kenya, Gambia, Burundi, and the Seychelles.
Not exactly the heavyweights.
Right. And when I look at the XG allowed, like against Kenya in Nairobi, it wasn't 0. Kenya generated real chances.
They did.
So my question is this 900-minute clean sheet a true reflection of Faye's tactical genius? Or is it heavily inflated by playing teams that just lack the cutting-edge finishing required to punish structural mistakes?
Well, the quality of opposition undoubtedly plays a factor, right? And the XG metrics against Kenya and Gabon do indicate that the Ivory Coast rode their luck on a few occasions.
Yeah, you can see them getting a bit stretched.
But maintaining absolute defensive concentration, like never switching off on a set piece, never allowing a miscommunication between the goalkeeper, Yahia Fofana, and his center backs over 10 matches.
Across varying African climates and pitches, too.
Exactly. Doing that requires a highly tuned organizational structure. Odilon Kusunu, fresh off an incredible season with Atalanta, has built a formidable partnership with Ndicka.
They really complement each other well.
They do. Faye has drilled them to drop into a mid-block, compress the space between the lines, and force opponents wide.
Funneling everything outside?
Right. So while the 0 might be slightly fortunate, the underlying defensive mechanics are incredibly robust. Faye has completely shifted their historical identity from chaotic attackers to pragmatic defenders.
Okay, so the foundation is solid. We can agree on that. They're structurally sound out of possession.
Very sound.
But defending a 0-0 draw doesn't win you a World Cup group. You have to transition that defensive stability into an actual attacking threat.
You gotta score goals eventually.
Exactly. So how do they move from absorbing pressure to actually hurting the opponent? Because looking at the El Equipe tactical breakdowns, their attacking blueprint is highly specific. And frankly, it has a glaring flaw.
It does. The primary attacking mechanism under Faye is rapid vertical transition.
Pure speed.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
They want the opponent to hold the ball, push their defensive line high, and commit bodies forward.
Lure them in.
Exactly. Because the moment a player like Ibrahim Sangare or Franck Kessie wins the ball in the midfield third, the first look is instantly forward into the channels.
And they have the perfect personnel for that, honestly. You look at Simon Adingra on one side and Nicolas Pepe, who had a massive resurgence at Villarreal, by the way, on the other.
Huge season for Pepe.
Yeah, and these wingers, they thrive when they can isolate fullbacks in open space.
What's fascinating here is how Adingra and Pepe interpret space differently. You know, it makes the counterattack multidimensional.
How so? Like, what's the difference in their movement?
Well, Pepe loves to start wide on the right and invert right, driving into the half space onto his stronger left foot, and that either sets up a shot or it forces the center back to step out and commit.
Right, which causes chaos.
Exactly. But Adingra, on the left, is more traditional in his direct verticality. He will beat his man on the outside and look for a cutback.
I see.
So this stretches the opposing defense both horizontally and vertically the very second possession changes hands.
It's an incredibly potent weapon. But here is the massive red flag in the data that I found.
The goal spread.
Yes. You look at the 25 goals they scored in those 10 qualifying matches. On paper, 2.5 goals a game sounds like a powerhouse.
It's great on paper.
But dive into the match logs. 16 of those goals came in just 2 matches against the Seychelles.
Yeah, that skews the data wildly.
And the Seychelles is a team composed largely of semi-professionals. Take them out of the equation, and the Ivory Coast averaged just 1.13 goals per game against the rest of the group.
A huge drop-off.
They relied heavily on grinding out 1-0 victories against teams like Gabon and Gambia.
And this exposes the fundamental weakness of their transition model.
Right.
What happens when the opponent simply refuses to engage? If a team deploys a low block, sits deep in a 5-4-1, and denies Adingra and Pepe any space behind the defensive line, The Ivorian attack becomes agonizingly static.
Because there's nowhere to run.
Exactly. The wingers are forced to receive the ball to feet with multiple defenders in front of them, completely nullifying their pace.
It sounds like they have a world-class set of wide receivers, but no franchise running back to punch it in at the goal line.
That's a great way to look at it.
It reminds me of looking at the 2018 French squad that won the World Cup, with Mbappe and Griezmann tearing teams apart in transition, but stripping away Olivier Giroud.
I lose that focal point.
You lose that central physical gravity. Because when I look at this Ivorian roster, there is no classic number 9.
No Drogba, no Bony.
Right. And Sebastian Haller, who literally scored the winning goal in the AFCON final just 2 years ago, was shockingly left off the 2026 World Cup squad.
A massive omission.
So when the game slows down and they need a wall pass or someone to win an aerial duel against a set defense, who's doing it? What happens when a team just sits back and refuses to attack them?
Well, leaving Haller at home was, without a doubt, the most heavily debated decision of Faye's tenure.
I bet. The fans must have been furious.
They were very confused. It suggests Faye is doubling down on a fluid, highly mobile front three. He is utilizing players like Evan Gassan from Crystal Palace or Eli Wahi from Nice centrally.
But they aren't true 9s.
No, they aren't. Both of those players are essentially wide forwards converted to central roles. They look to run into the channels rather than play with their backs to goal.
Which doesn't help against the low block.
Not at all.
Yeah.
If an opponent parks the bus, hitting hopeful crosses into a box occupied by Wahi against 2 physical center backs, it's a very low percentage strategy.
So to execute this hyper-specific model, elite defensive shape, blinding counterattacks, but struggling against deep blocks, you need a very distinct profile of player across the pitch.
You really do.
So let's look at the actual squad construction. Because Faye has blended a core of battle-tested veterans with a terrifying new wave of youth prodigies.
It's a great mix of ages.
Let's start with the anchor, the guy setting the tempo, Franck Kessie.
Oh, Kessie is the tactical and emotional compass of this team.
Yeah.
No question.
He's the captain, right?
Yeah. At 29 years old with well over 100 caps, he has seen every iteration of Ivorian football over the last decade.
He's been through the highs and the lows.
Exactly. And he is currently playing for Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia, where he has just won back-to-back AFC Champions League titles.
Which really silences anyone who thought his move away from Europe was just a retirement tour.
Oh, totally. He's still playing at an incredibly high level.
Yeah, the CF technical report on his AFCON performance was absolutely glowing. He isn't just a destroyer in the midfield.
Not at all. His spatial awareness in the midfield pivot is what makes that 4-1-4-1 actually work.
How so?
He knows exactly when to drop between Ndicka and Kosunu to form a back three during build-up, and he knows exactly when to step up and apply the counterpress.
So he's reading the game at a really elite level.
Constantly. He does all the unglamorous heavy lifting that allows the forward players to cheat slightly and prepare for the transition.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Yeah.
Because Kessie is the engine, but the creative spark. The player who has to unlock those stubborn defenses when the counterattack isn't available.
That's the big question.
That falls squarely on the shoulders of Amad Diallo.
Oh, Diallo's evolution over the last 2 years at Manchester United has been pivotal for the national team.
It's been great to watch.
It really has. He spent so much time on the fringes, right? Going on loans, trying to bulk up for the physicality of the Premier League.
Yeah, Sunderland was huge for him.
Massive. And now he is the undisputed creative hub for the Ivory Coast. During that AFCON run, he created 10 big chances and scored 3 times.
Wow.
And against France, we saw his full repertoire. The ability to find the pocket of space between the midfield and defensive lines, receive on the half-turn, and instantly accelerate.
He just glides with the ball.
He does.
And he has that natural two-footedness that makes him an absolute nightmare to press. If you show him outside, he has the pace to beat you. If you show him inside, he has the vision to thread a pass.
You can't really win defensively against him one-on-one.
Right. But Diallo isn't the only young star. The scouting reports on the 19-year-olds that Faye is integrating are incredible. Let's talk about Yann Diomande.
Yann Diomande at RB Leipzig is producing metrics that have every major European club on high alert right now.
The numbers are crazy.
We are looking at 0.75 direct goal involvements per 90 minutes in the Bundesliga.
As a teenager.
For a 19-year-old winger, that level of consistent end product is exceptionally rare.
Yeah, it's not normal.
He brings this raw, explosive directness on the left side that perfectly complements Diallo's more intricate playmaking on the right.
So you have balance.
Perfect balance.
And behind them, you have another 19-year-old, Kristinao Ulay, who is anchoring the midfield for Trabzonspor over in Turkey.
A very interesting call-up, that one.
Yeah, I was reading about his call-up, and it was essentially a forced hand, right?
Yeah.
Because J-Michael Seri suffered that long-term ankle injury.
Yeah, Seri was a huge loss.
Right, because Seri was the progressive passer from deep, the guy who really dictated the rhythm. Ulay has a very different profile.
Very different. Ulay is a pure ball winner.
Just a destroyer.
Exactly. His defensive duel success rate in the Turkish Super League is immense. So by slotting Ulay next to Kessie or Sangare, Faye is sacrificing some of that deep-lying playmaking for even more defensive solidity and aggressive ball recovery.
Which plays right into the transition philosophy we talked about.
Perfectly. Win the ball higher up the pitch with more aggression and feed Diaman and Diallo faster.
But the most fascinating personnel shift happened just weeks ago. I mean, we're talking May 2026.
Straight down to the wire.
Literally mere weeks before the tournament. Antoine Bonny, the forward for Inter Milan, officially files the paperwork to switch his international allegiance from France to the Ivory Coast.
A massive coup for the Federation.
Massive. The ink is barely dry, FIFA clears it, and Faye immediately puts him on the plane to North America.
He didn't even hesitate.
No. And we talked earlier about the lack of a number 9, the omission of Haller, and the whole struggle against the low block. The timing of this recruitment tells a very clear story, doesn't it?
It is a massive tactical contingency plan. Faye knows his system's flaw better than anyone. If they are playing a team that sits deep, and Wahi or Ghessand are just being bullied by opposing center backs, they need a physical focal point.
And Bonny is a big guy.
Oh, Bonny is 1.89 meters tall. He has incredible upper body strength, and his hold-up play at Inter Milan has been crucial for their build-up this season.
And so he can be that wall pass.
Exactly. Integrating a key tactical piece this late in the World Cup cycle is inherently risky, though, because he lacks the shared tactical memory of the AFCON run.
He wasn't in the fire with them.
Right. But his profile is the exact skeleton key they need to unlock deep defenses. Faye specifically recruited him at the last minute to solve that exact missing number 9 problem.
Okay, so we have the full picture of the squad. The rigid defensive block, the blistering transition, the playmaking of Diallo, and the last-minute inclusion of Bonny to fix the low block vulnerability.
All the pieces are on the board.
Now, how does this specific tactical organism survive the gauntlet of Group E? Let's dive into the matchups.
Group E is a nightmare of stylistic clashes, to be honest. It is going to test every single facet of Faye's tactical blueprint.
Okay, match day 1, June 14th, Philadelphia. It's Ivory Coast versus Ecuador.
This is huge.
Most analysts view this as the de facto playoff for the second spot in the group, assuming Germany takes the top seed.
Right, the battle for second place.
And Ecuador out of CONMEBOL is a brutal matchup. They are managed by Sebastian Becasset, who sets them up in a very rigid, physically punishing 3-5-2.
Extremely tough to break down.
You've got Moises Caicedo patrolling the midfield and Piero Hincapi leading a defense that only conceded 8 goals in their entire South American qualifying campaign.
8 goals in CONMEBOL qualifying is ridiculous.
It's insane.
So this is the ultimate staring contest. Both teams are built fundamentally on defensive solidity and out-of-possession structure.
Right. Neither wants to be the protagonist.
Exactly. Both teams want the opponent to take the initiative so they can exploit the counter. The tactical question is, who abandons their identity first?
If both Ecuador and Ivory Coast rely on defensive structure and want to counterattack, who blinks first in this match? I don't think either of them wants the ball.
It's going to be tense.
You look at the center of the pitch, Kessie and Ulay going up against Caicedo and Alan Franco. It is going to be a bloodbath of midfield tackles.
Very physical.
If neither team wants to open up, how is this game actually won? Is it just set pieces?
Set pieces and individual errors, yeah. Ecuador is incredibly dangerous on offensive set pieces with Hincapi and Felix Torres.
So Ndicka has to be perfect.
The Ivory Coast will rely heavily on Ndicka's aerial ability to neutralize that threat. If the game is locked at 0-0 in the 60th minute, this is exactly the scenario where Faye might have to throw Antoine Bonny into the fire early.
Right, just to have someone to aim at.
Exactly. I anticipate a grueling, highly physical, low-scoring affair, a 1-0 win or a draw. A single transition mistake or a brilliant piece of individual skill from Diallo will likely decide it.
Then we move to June 20th. Up in Toronto, they face Germany, Julian Nagelsmann's squad, the four-time world champions.
The heavyweights.
The odds have them at, -270 to win the group? They are loaded. You've got Jamal Musiala and Florian Wirtz operating in the pockets, Kai Havertz roaming up top.
Terrifying attack.
Nagelsmann has them playing this fluid 4-2-2-2 box midfield that just suffocates teams. Seems like a mountain to climb for the Ivory Coast.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of tactical matchups, we uncover a massive paradox here.
Okay, I'm listening.
The Ivory Coast might actually perform better against Germany than they do against Ecuador.
Wait, really? Explain the mechanics of that. How do they match up better against the tournament favorites?
It comes down to space. Nagelsmann's philosophy demands possession, territorial dominance, and a very high defensive line to sustain the counterpress.
Right, they want to pin you in your own box.
Germany will push 8 players into the Ivorian half. They will happily take the ball, and in doing so, they will leave 40 yards of open grass behind Jonathan Tah and Antonio Rudiger.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
That is the exact tactical environment where Adingra, Pepe, and Diomande are world-class. The Ivory Coast won't have to break down a low block.
Because Germany won't play one.
Exactly. They can sit in their 4-1-4-1 mid-block, absorb the intricate passing of Musiala and Wirtz, and the second Ulai, or Kessie, intercepts a pass. One ball over the top turns it into a track meet.
Is the exact blueprint they used to beat France.
Literally identical.
But the danger is surviving the onslaught, right? Like, if you invite Journey onto you for 90 minutes, the cognitive load on Kosunu and Ndicka to track those half-space runs from Wirtz is exhausting.
Oh, absolutely. The margin for error is 0. You fall asleep for 1 second, and Musiala punishes you. But technically, it is a game script Faye and his players are incredibly comfortable executing.
Which brings us to the final match, June 25th. Back down in Philadelphia against Curaçao.
An incredible story.
This is an incredible narrative in itself. A nation of 150,000 people. They are the smallest nation ever to reach a World Cup.
Amazing achievement.
Managed by the legendary Dick Advocate. They have the Bakuna brothers pulling the strings. On paper, the Ivory Coast has to win this to secure advancement.
They must win, and they likely need to win by a significant margin for goal difference, depending on the Ecuador result.
Right.
But tactically, this match presents their biggest fear. This is Faye's worst nightmare.
Because Advocate is no fool.
No, he's been around forever.
He knows Curaçao cannot match the Ivorian athleticism. He is going to deploy a 5-4-1, put 10 men behind the ball in a deep low block, and just dare the Ivory Coast to break them down.
Precisely. We discussed how the Ivory Coast struggled to score against Gabon and Gambia when denied space.
Yeah.
Curaçao will replicate that strategy with even more desperation. The pace of Diomande and Adingra will be totally neutralized because there will be no grass to run into behind the defensive line.
Right, they'll just hit a brick wall of defenders.
This match will require patient buildup, intricate passing in tight spaces from Diallo, and a physical presence in the box.
So this is where the late recruitment of Bani must pay dividends.
He has to earn his spot in this game. If they drop points here, because they cannot score against a low block, the entire transition-heavy tactical blueprint will be exposed.
And as we dissect these tactics, we really can't ignore the environment these matches will be played in. The atmosphere the Ivorian supporters bring is a tangible factor.
It really is. It changes games.
If you watch the broadcasts from North America this summer, it is going to be an overwhelming sensory experience.
The visual and auditory impact of the Ivorian fans completely alters the stadium dynamics. I mean, entire sections of the stands transform into a sea of bright orange kits.
It's beautiful to see. And it's the percussion that sets them apart, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
They have these coordinated bands in the stands playing specific rhythms that emulate the heavy, stomping march of elephant footsteps.
It's so intimidating.
It creates this relentless, booming wall of sound that reverberates across the pitch. During that AFCON run, you could literally see the opposition players getting rattled by the sheer volume and intensity of it. It turns a neutral venue in Philadelphia or Toronto into an absolute cauldron.
For a team whose entire identity is now built on emotional resilience and collective suffering, having survived that near elimination on home soil, having that vocal backing from the diaspora is a massive multiplier.
It's like a 12th man.
It really is. It provides the adrenaline needed for a winger to make that final 40-yard sprint in the 90th minute when their legs are entirely gone.
So we look at the complete picture of this deep dive. The Ivory Coast is a team fundamentally reborn from the trauma of the 2023 AFCON.
Reborn in fire.
Immerse Faye has taken a group that was publicly humiliated and forged them into a pragmatic, defensively rigid unit that went 900 minutes without conceding in qualifying.
An incredible turnaround.
They possess one of the most terrifying transition attacks in the tournament, with Diallo, Diomande, and Adingra.
Right name, fat.
Yet, they carry a massive vulnerability against deep set defenses, leading to the desperate last-minute recruitment of Anjuan Bonny. And they carry all of this into a groupie gauntlet that will test every extreme of their tactical identity.
And the pressure from Abidjan hasn't dissipated just because they won AFCON, by the way.
No, I'm sure it's only grown.
The Ivorian Football Federation has publicly demanded a quarter-final run.
Wow.
Yeah. Just getting out of the group would make history for them, but they are demanding that this squad not only break the group stage curse, but go deeper into the tournament than any Ivorian team in history.
It is a staggering demand.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to consider while you were finalizing your brackets or, tuning into that opening match against Ecuador.
Let's hear it.
For the better part of 2 decades, the Ivory Coast relied on what was universally dubbed their golden generation. You had Didier Drogba, arguably the greatest African striker of all time.
A true legend.
You had Yaya Touré dominating the Premier League, Kolo Touré, Salomon Kalou, just a roster of absolute galacticos.
So much talent. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, with all of that transcendent generational talent, they never once made it out of a World Cup group stage.
Never.
The individual brilliance never quite meshed into a cohesive tactical unit when it mattered most on the global stage.
Right. They were individuals, not a team.
Now they arrive in 2026. The Galacticos are gone. There is no Drogba coming to pull a rabbit out of a hat. There is no Yaya Touré to bulldoze through a midfield on his own.
No superstars to save them.
Instead, they have a squad built on the collective trauma of a near disaster, guided by an interim-turned-permanent manager who understands that systemic resilience outlasts individual magic.
The sum is greater than the parts now.
Exactly. What if the secret to finally breaking the curse and achieving World Cup glory isn't about assembling the best 11 individuals in the world, but about surviving the fire together?
It's a powerful thought.
Keep an eye out for that wall of orange and listen for the elephants marching in the stands. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.